What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens episode review. Today, guys, we are going to be going over episode 45 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. I'm very excited, as always, to get into this review, so let's not waste any more time, and let's get right into it, because let's just say we got a lot to talk about in this episode. So, generally speaking, what were my thoughts? I thought it was an okay episode. It was definitely my least favorite episode out of the bunch. Not saying it was a bad episode, but there's a lot of stuff that I gotta talk about that I think it will make sense a little bit later on. So, we finally are in the tournament. After waiting so long to actually start this tournament, we're finally in the tournament. And I'm just gonna say this right now. There is a good chance that I'm gonna be referencing OCG structures a lot in this video because I wanted to kind of have a comparison for this tournament with the other the other tournament that we had recently with the OCG Structures manga, and kind of compared the two, because the way those two tournaments went kind of have some similarities, but I kind of want to talk about my thoughts on which version I thought did better, and I'll kind of give my reasons why. So we're in the tournament now, and we actually now know how the tournament works. So basically, we find out how the tournament works is basically how it goes is that you're just walking around, kind of similar to how the Duel Carnival worked, was that you just walked around the city and you just challenge an opponent and then you end up dueling. How this tournament worked is that you just chose a party member in your group, and that's who duels against the other team. And whoever wins gets points. And if your team loses, you get minus points. And basically what happens is if you lose 7 times during the course of your dueling time, you will automatically be eliminated from the tournament. And your goal is to rack up the most points, because whoever gets the top 2 teams that get the highest amount of points will go on to the finals. Yes, the finals, which I will talk about that a little bit later. So what's interesting about this is the whole battling mechanic of this. This is where I'm going to compare it to OCG structures for a second. So you had this version where you just picked a team member and then you dueled against the other team member that they chose to duel, and that's how that goes. In OCG structures, how that worked before the finals was that everyone dueled at the exact same time. Basically, you would have a barrier up between them, and they would duel their opponents, and whoever's team had the most amount of wins would go on to the next round. They basically would have a one match duel, or a one duel basically, and they wouldn't know who won the duel until they got the final results, and whoever won the most actually was the winner. That's why sometimes you saw there was matches of 3-0, because of the fact that a team can have all of their members win the duel against their opponent. In terms of which one I like better, I will say OCG Structures did that a little bit better, because I felt like there was a more team aspect of it, and we'll even do an anime example as well, 5Ds. I think 5Ds did their structure a little bit better because at least it had a team aspect to it. Not saying that there wasn't, but the thing was is that when it came to the team aspect of this tournament, it's just choosing what duelist is going to duel. I guess that can be for certain matchups, which I do like, which you kind of did see that with 5Ds as well, but at least there was still the team participating in the tournament, not relying on one person to win the duel, and if they mess up, the whole team suffers. I didn't really like that aspect of it, but that's what they ended up designing. So both of those cases, I think, actually would win. So we learn about that, and we learn who are the top. Actually, at number 1, when we first start off, is Team Luke King's, Luke's team, which had, I think it was 348, because they also got 7 points per win that they got, which I don't think actually works for how the team system works, because they get 7 points if they win, and they get 7 points if they lose. I don't think you can get 348, because I don't think that actually is a divisible 7. I could be wrong. I didn't really do, well, I did the math for who actually got number 1, which we'll get into that in a second, but now, then you have Yuka's team, which actually steals the lead by 1 point. They have 349 points, and they now beat the lead against Luke's team, which also let's talk about Yuga's team for a second. This is why I wanted to compare OCG structures as well. And we're going to add 5Ds in there. You know what? We're going to have a three-way triangle of these tournaments because they at least have teams. This is the first time we're actually talking about like a whole team set. Since 5Ds had it, Sevens had it, and OCG structures had it. Let's just combine them all. In terms of the team names, I will say OCG structures I actually like more than 5Ds and Sevens because I felt like there was a little bit more meaning to it. Or at least with Team Structure's name, I loved where that kind of came from. With the whole group, they met on Structure Day, so that's where the Team Structure's name came out. It didn't come because the title is OCD Structures, but I love that. Then you have Team 5Ds because 5 signers, that also fit. But then you go to Yugioh Sevens, and you have team names like Team Luke Kings, which I'll put a pass on because of the fact that Luke wants to become the king of duels, and it kind of fits, and he just needs 2 members in his team that kind of participate in the tournament, so there you go. But then you got Yuga's team. Yuga's team is called Yugioh with R. I feel like when it came to the team names for Sevens, I think they kind of got a little lazy with this, which team names aren't important, but I like the meaning behind those. Like, I guess you kind of have it because you have Yuga and Neil, which are members of the team with R, which I guess means with Roa, which I guess symbolizes since Roa is a big like star in music, I guess that R represents Roa, and then you have Yuga and Neo who use Maximum Monsters, so you got the big names since they have the big power with the Maximum Monsters, and you have Roa. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the best way of why that was a team name. I feel like Roa was the one that kind of made the team name. I don't know. But that's what their team name was. Yeah, definitely a little bit of lacking, but that's just my thoughts on it. But let's actually get into the actual episode. I know I kind of went on a little bit, but I wanted to kind of compare those and just kind of look at the past tournaments that we've seen of team tournaments, because you had 5Ds in the anime, and then you had OCG structures with their team. So I just kind of wanted to make a comparison with there. And then when it comes to the finals, we'll talk about that when it comes to the case. But I do have a feeling that it's going to be very, very similar. I think the only difference, well, with the finals, it can go 2 ways. It can go the 5D style, where if one of your team members lose their life points, the next team goes in, but the opponent that was actually dueling stays in there, which I wouldn't mind that. Or do the OCG structures route where it's by match, well, team match, where it's basically a best 2 out of 3. We'll see when it gets to that point, but we have the scene where Yuga, Neil, and Roa are sitting at the noodle shop, all the way back from episode 6, actually. I forgot about that restaurant. And then you have them just sitting in there. You have Neil ordering ramen. Apparently, he became Naruto this episode, and he's just eating a whole bunch of ramen. I'm sorry, I had to make that reference. For people that don't watch the episodes unsubbed, before the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 episode comes out, the sequel to Naruto Boruto actually plays before Yu-Gi-Oh! 7, so I felt like I had to make that reference. There was no way I couldn't. I tried to hold myself back from making that reference, but I had to. But you have Neil being Naruto, eating his noodles. You kind of have Roa kind of talking to him about it, kind of like joking around with him. And then you have Roman coming in as well, because, you have Rook being real mad about this and thinking that it's unfair because Neil has a Maximum Monster. So he thinks it's unfair because their team is very powerful, not only because you have Yuga, Roa, and Neil, which are like the god trio basically, but you also have Neil, who has been using a Maximum Monster when no one else, though they did mention in this episode that apparently there was duelists that had Maximum cards, so that was a very interesting thing. But actually, jumping back to the earlier point of the episode, actually this was before the opening, we see this kid just walking around, and he's like talking about Maximum Monsters, and then he runs into this person in this like hoodie, and he says, "Follow me," which was very shady, by the way, and they end up going into this secret place. He opens the door and finds out that there is a sale for Maximum cards. I mean, if this isn't the black market, I don't know what the heck it is. But you have this guy, and he smiles about it, and he basically sells them a Maximum card. And Well, actually, you know what? I'll talk about that when we actually get into that, because we'll talk about when it actually gets discovered. But, they're kind of talking, and then you have the door opening, and then you see Khan, and I believe his name was Kasaki, or something like that. It's the other member of the Dino Club. They end up entering the door, and then you just see this bright light coming out of nowhere, and then when the light stops, there's Hanto. But something was off with him. He's all dressed up in all this bling, all this gold and all that kind of stuff, acting like he's all high and mighty, which, oh boy, did that tick me off so much. This character went from, like, a pretty interesting character just to the dirt levels of low. Like, this is in the levels of Schrodinger and Arya. Like, he's in the top 3 worst characters of Sevens for me, in my opinion. I will just say that right now. That's where he became this episode. I did not like Hanto one dang bit this episode. This character just really, he made me angry. Let me just say that much. But he goes into the shop dressed in all of this bling and all this stuff. And basically what ends up happening is we find out that he's actually the 3rd ranked team in the tournament. So what ends up happening is Hanto challenges Yuka to a duel, and which Yuka ends up obliging as well, or abiding, as well as Neil and Rose saying that was fine. So we get the duel with Hanto and Yuka. But this was no ordinary duel. This was another maximum duel. Because not only did we get 1 maximum card, but we got 2 maximum monsters summoned in this episode. Which I will say this was probably my least favorite maximum duel so far. Not saying it was a bad duel. I thought it was an okay duel. I think it was just kind of hard because I had so much frustration with Hanto. It just really made me hard to really get invested in a duel because I hated this character so much. I just want Yuka to just OTK him. That's how bad it was. And even though I don't like short duels, it kind of made me feel like maybe bend the rules this one time and just OTK this kid and just put him in this place. Like, that's how badly I wanted this kid to be defeated. But we get into the duel. Actually, we don't see the maximum monsters until the 3rd turn of the duel, but we do see Hantu'S New Ace Monster. I think it was called Xenagenbazils or something like that. I don't know how the heck that name was pronounced. It's just this like this hippo monster all dressed up in this bling. He also plays Jurassic World, which I think was a deck that, or a the field spell that Khan used, which also, how in the world is Khan just okay with this? He was the leader of their group and they just let Hanto take over? Like, dude, like, stand up for yourself. Show that you're the leader of this group. Why did you let this kid take over? Which I guess maybe it's just because of the fact that he had so much wealth in him now, and we'll get into that in just a second, because we actually do learn that. I think it's before Yuga's turn, but we actually, see this kid all in his bling, and I guess that just shows like he got the power over Khan and Kensuke. So I guess that's what they decided to do. I guess that kind of sucked, which I'll be honest, I would have rather had a Yuga Khan rematch. I think that would have been cool. And plus them using the maximum monsters against each other, I think would have been pretty cool. But anyway, you have Hanto summoning this hippo monster, which maybe this was just me, because to me, this card, and maybe it's just because it's a hippo, which also, he's playing a hippo monster. His whole thing is dinosaurs. Why is he playing a hippo? I don't know. But he ends up playing this hippo, and I don't know why I did this, but this was just something I thought about after the end of this episode. This is just my thoughts on this, but this new ace monster that Hanto summoned this episode is secretly performed by Hip Hippo. Now, to see this, I had to try to entertain myself with some parts of this episode, and this was one of the ways that I did it. I think this is performed by Hip Hippo. I mean, think about it. Just think about it for a quick second. Because, you know, you have performed by Hip Hippo. You know, he's this entertainer, basically. We know that from Yugioh's deck in Arc 5. He's this big entertainer, and you know what? People that do entertain for a living make a lot of money. So, you know, he basically gets all of his earnings from all the performances that he performs on, and he becomes a millionaire or billionaire, whatever you want to, whatever this hippo is. but you basically have this rich performing battle hippo. Yeah, I know the color scheme doesn't fit, but who knows? Maybe he went to Hawaii and got himself a tan, a really nice tan or something like that. I mean, I guess you can maybe say the colors and maybe you can get somewhere with that. I have really no idea, but I would just really think that would be funny if that was the lore of this new ace monster. It was just performing battle hippo, rich, and also got a tan. Or or who knows, maybe this is Performing Pal's rich uncle or something like that. I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this ace monster. Which, let me get back on topic. I know I'm going way too far. Again, I had to try to make myself very entertained this episode, and I'm not even kidding. When I'm watching this episode, like, Perform Pal Hippo. For some reason, that card just immediately popped in my head for no reason. But that's what this card just reminded me of for some reason. It's just a rich Perform Pal Hippo, or the rich uncle of Perform Pal Hippo. Or who knows, maybe this is Perform Pal Flip Hippo. Okay, let me get back into the duel. Jeez. I'm sorry. I don't know why I just went there, but you know what? We gotta spice up this episode a little bit, I guess. I don't know. I have not been this crazy when it comes to an episode review to the point where I've went like this before, but hey, you know what? Spice things up a little bit. I don't know. Make this episode a little bit more fun, I guess. But let me know your guys' theories down below. But Yuka's able to deal with the hippo monster. We get back into Khan's turn, and he summons his new ace monster, Great Imperial Dino Carrier Dynarmix, or something like that. Basically, Dynamix, but in dinosaur form, I guess. That's the way to decide that. The whole crew is shocked by this. And also, actually, before I go back to that, I forgot to mention, too, they made a COVID reference this episode. You had Luke's team and Roa just wearing a mask for no reason after he used the effect of his monster, which gave Yuka 1,000 life points, and he gave 1,000 life points, and he was able to do something. I can't actually remember. No, he gave 1,000 life points because he used Upstart Goblin. Also, he used Upstart Goblin. If that didn't fit the way he started acting this episode, which I don't know, maybe this is just me, but this duel reminded me of that Jack versus Piero duel. I don't know, maybe it's just because of the whole, reference of loans, because, you kind of had Hanto kind of doing that whole loan. He loaned Yuka 1,000 life points with Upstart Goblin to draw a card, and then he took that back. I think he used the effect to get the damage off. It actually took more than originally, because he gave Yuka 1,000, but took 1,600. I guess you can say maybe that's the tax that he had to pay. I don't know. But that just really reminded me of that Piero duel with the loan tokens, and Jack had to keep paying life points because of that the loan tokens, I think they were. I don't know. That's just what this duel kind of reminded me of. But he summons his new ace monster onto the field, and he actually almost goes for a direct. Well, he goes for a direct attack because he was able to nuke Yuga's board, which, I don't know, I feel so bad for this monster. That cat monster got destroyed again this episode. Every maximum duel that Yuka's participated in, that cat has always gotten targeted for something. Most of the time it's by an attack, but this time it actually got destroyed, but by an effect this time. Normally it got destroyed by battle, and Yuka just saved himself from taking a whole bunch of damage. Well, except for the first duel against Neil and the first time against Asana, which, to be fair, also Sevens Rogue Magician got destroyed. Or maybe it was only during the second duels. I think it was only towards the second duels, because Sevens Rogue Magician got destroyed the first Neil duel and the first Asana duel. Okay, so it was just the Neil second duel and then the Asana second duel. Now I'm kind of thinking about it. But still, I feel bad for this cat. Sevens Rogue Magician and this cat monster have just been getting obliterated by maximum monsters. I feel really bad for the cards. I really do. But Yuka's able to survive with 200 life points after the frontal assault with this monster. And then we go into Yuka's turn, and he mentioned something to Hanto. But actually, no, that was before that, because we find out something very, very interesting as the kid earlier this episode comes back, and we find out it's Ron's. Out of nowhere, we got Ron's appearing in the episode, which I don't remember her from the summary, which I didn't do the summary. My apologies. I don't actually remember reading the summary, so that's probably why I was surprised to see her. I was like, where have you been, by the way? And apparently she was doing some investigative work because she heard about people selling maximum cards. Well, that's where we find out that Hanto has been the one selling maximum cards, which you can tell earlier in the episode. I mean, they were wearing dinosaur hoods. I mean, it was clearly obvious, but I guess maybe they're not the smartest tools in the shed like we thought they were. I don't know, but Hanto has basically been selling these maximum cards. But how was he doing that? Well, he was actually searching underground in the same place where he originally found some ID cards for Yuga, and got a whole bunch of them and brought them back. Which, I don't know why they're throwing away that concept of what happened during the Yuga and Sana duel. What happened to the whole thing of the cards being so old that they disintegrate? Where in the world did those go? That whole concept went. I guess it just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, Rook went back to the area, even though he was there and he knows what happens to these ID cards because they're so old. Why in the world did they think it's just gonna work this time when it didn't work the last time? And then Hanto just got a whole bunch of them, so he probably just ripped some kids off because the cards are going to disintegrate now. I'm surprised at the end of this episode, Hanto didn't get ambushed because of these kids coming back and they're saying their cards disintegrated and they wanted their money back. Actually, that would have been hilarious, and I actually would have boosted this episode more for me. I think that would have just been hilarious and have been karma would kick you right in the butt moment, so I wish they kind of did that, but that's basically why when Rook went to go get his own maximum cards, that he couldn't find any because he dug them all up. But how did he do that? We'll get to that at the end of the duel. I know I keep saying that, but we get back into the duel, and Hanto mentions that, oh, you're not going to be able to beat me without a maximum card, but Yuga says that, oh, he doesn't have a maximum card. Or he said he didn't say that he didn't have a maximum card. And we find out that he got his own maximum cards. Roa gave him a maximum card, Neil gave him a maximum card, and then Asana gave him an ID card, which again, I guess that concept doesn't exist anymore as well, because Asana is now giving him a card, which maybe she got that not from the underground, who really knows, but now he has an ID card, he has a right piece and a left piece, which, what are the odds that Roa and Neil have the same piece that can work on the same monster? You gotta remember, with maximum cards, you can't just mix and match, maximum cards all willy-nilly. You can't just have like the middle piece of YGG Drago, the right piece of the new dinosaur maximum monster, and then have a right piece of Overroad. You can't make a maximum monster like that. They all have to fit the same pieces. So what are the odds that Roa had, which by the way he got randomly because of a fan throwing a card at him, and or what he called his princesses. He opens the card and he sees one part of a maximum card, which obviously he can't use, and then Neil getting the right part for that maximum monster that Ron's gave it to him. Like, again, what are the odds? But he ends up summoning the new Ace Monster, Hyper Engine Vast Volcane, which, love the monster, and I love how it represents. Does not fit Yuga's deck one bit, but I will accept this much because I think the monster looks really cool. I don't know, it just reminded me of like this like volcanic obelisk. I don't know, it just looked like obelisk if it was made out of a volcano or something like that. I don't know, it just really reminded me of obelisk, and basically he uses the monster and beats Hanto with the new maximum monster. So that was basically the duel, and that was also, I think, the shortest maximum duel, I think. No, actually, I think that's tied with the other ones. No, because Neil is the shortest one, I think, because he went first in Yuga, then Neil. Yeah, it was Neil, I think, was the shortest duel, because the Sana duel went 4, I believe. So he ends up losing. You kind of have Hanto apologizing. You had Rook ask them a very good question that, do you like dueling or do you like money? And they said dueling, and I guess he was going to say, then you can hand me my maximum cards, trying to make a joke out of it, but obviously they sold all of it. But Yuga makes a point, though. How is he able to excavate all of those cards so quickly? Well, we find out he didn't do it on his own, even though he has this powerful sneezing ability to where he can just basically mind up anything that he wants. He needed help. So who did he get help from? He got help from Gohan Double Six. Apparently, Gohan Double Six were underground, and they said, if you help us, we will help you get these cards. Or, like, if you help us get what we need, we will help you get these cards. hey, what was the chances? But honestly, I will be a little bit more accepting to that because they were underground and Hanto was underground, so it made the most sense. But the fact that they actually got the Gohan, he actually met with Gohan double six. And you even see Yuga weirdly get a little bit like nervous about that. Which, if Yuga knows that Gohan double six is a thing, I'm going to be really upset because they're making this kid seem like he knows everything in this universe, which is a load of bullcrap. Because there is no reason why Yuga should know everything in this universe. I understand that this kid is smart, but there's no reason for it. It doesn't make sense that he would know them. There was no time where he can figure it out was double six, which maybe he can start maybe putting the pieces together that something's wrong with Asana's group and then Otis. But other than that, he cannot tell me that he knows Gohan double six. There is no way. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But that's basically how that whole exchange ends up ending. And then we actually get the results of the tournament. Yuga's team ended up coming up first with 350 points. And Luke's team came up in second with 348. So basically, we're 2 points under him, which I guess would be one duel under them. I don't know. The whole point system was weird because it just seemed like they gained 1 point out of that. I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering Rux wrong because I don't see how in the world they added 7 into the. And also, if they're going by the 7 rule, 350, that means they participated in 50 duels in this tournament, which then you're telling me that there's 50 teams in this tournament, which is also 150 people, by the way, in this tournament. No, I know for a fact it was 350 because I did it earlier today. I actually did the math on that one. Well, the math wasn't that hard at all. It's literally 350 divided by 7 because you needed to figure out how many points was each. So basically, you're telling me that there was 50 teams in this tournament. How? And you had all those 50 matchups, and you only showed one matchup. And now we're at the finals, which I will say this right now. Very, very disappointing. Probably, in my opinion, at the end of this is going to be probably, in my opinion, the worst tournament we have ever gotten in Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not trying to be a hater on it, because to be fair, OCG Structures was short as well. They only show the finals of their tournament, but I give them a pass on that because they only have 8 members or 8 characters that we know of in that series, and 6 of them was participating in the tournament, and 3 of them were on a team, and another 3 are on a team, and then you had Agiha being the referee, and then Gobo being the manager to actually make the thing even happen. So that I understand, but you had Metsuboro's team, you had Bakuro's team, you had Khan's team, which we actually got to see that one. You had Yoshio's team. You had all of these different teams, but you never got to show them off. And that was really, really disappointing. You're only showing 2 duels in this tournament, which actually beats OCG Structures because they only showed 1 duel, which was the team of Light and Darkness, or Light and Darkness are 2 sides of the same coin, which, yes, is an actual team name in the OCG Structures manga. I don't want to get into that versus Team Structures. And now you have Team Yuga Neil with R versus Team Luke Kings. So that's going to be the finals. There's nothing we can do about it, which, again, I guess I'm not really surprised. This was probably the best way we can do it. That way we can fit the tournament and have the double 6 stuff in this arc instead of just trying to put them in separate arcs. I guess that kind of ties everything together, but it still sucks. I hope we get another tournament arc. I really do, because this one was just a pure disappointment to me. You didn't even see much of this tournament. You just saw the 1 duel with Hanto, and then you're going to see the team of Yuga Neil with R versus Team Luke. That is all, Luke Kings. That is all you're going to see for this tournament. Yeah, pretty disappointing to me, to say the least. But that is all my thoughts on this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was a loaded episode review, but there was a lot of stuff that I kind of want to talk about. Then I also had the joke with Perform LA Pippo, which I'm not sorry about. I thought that was funny. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what are your guys' thoughts on this episode. Did you like the episode? Did you think it was okay? Or did you not really like the episode? Let me know your guys' thoughts on Hanto this episode. Did he drop as a character for you? Was he just still the same? Or did he actually rose as a character for you? What are your thoughts on the new Maximum monsters? And I guess what are your thoughts on the tournament as a whole now that we're at the finals of this tournament? I will say that kind of makes me sad too because I did a whole video dedicating this tournament and the only thing I got right was the finals. And that's because nothing else ended up happening. But there's nothing we can really do about it. Let's just keep our head positive because I still think this arc has been doing really well. I will say that much. Even though the tournament was a disappointment to me, I still think this arc has been really, really strong. I really do believe that. I think it's been stronger than the last two arcs. I think this will be honestly better than the two arcs, or at least I'm hoping. I say that and then there's going to be something going wrong. Because, you know, I said there was going to be this whole tournament and then it ended up happening. So let's just wait and see what ends up happening. But guys, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.